Possible resource investments. Team effectiveness is driven by the value invest in the following 4 areas: meeting time, between meeting time, training time, support group time, and then expense and capital monies for team projects. And there is a direct relationship. More teams equal more investment, but the algorithm is a little more complicated than just saying, well, if we meet this much, we make this much money. Please don't do that. It's my desire that people will use the spreadsheet to accurately plan for what an effective team infrastructure will cost. It's my hope that they will trust the intangible benefits of their team system. If one chooses to only focus on the cost and the tangible returns when deciding how to support their teams, they are most likely better off avoiding the endeavor altogether. Also, keep in mind that this spreadsheet focuses on the cost of formal project teams. It does not reflect the cost of existing work groups or focus teams in an organization, and you incur that cost every day. As I stated earlier, all organizations have groups of people that meet together regularly in an attempt to realize a desired result. They may not have a team charter, they may not know what their efforts cost, but they may not even have measures to let them know if they're successful or not. But if they allow these teams to exist and meet regularly without those things in place, they will be less than effective. Think about it. Your average 1-hour middle management team meeting costs at least $350 for labor alone, no benefits, if the team has 10 members. Most companies have at least one meeting of this nature per week, which means they spend $17,500 per year just to hold 50 of these meetings, just to hold one 1-hour middle management meeting with 10 people in it for 1 hour once a week. How much of that $17,500 each year is value added? How much of it is waste? I believe that the effectiveness of all meetings should be measured and trended over time. I've given you tools for that in this course. Perhaps we'd all be better off if we applied the same degree of cost scrutiny to all of our teams that we do when we consider adding formal project teams. If we did so, we would have fewer ineffective teams and fewer process failures. Balancing results and commitments. Team effectiveness expectations address both the desired results and what needs to be done in order to attain them. When investment options are considered, we tend to compare them with expected results, i.e. return, versus overall expectations, which would be the impact on the process or the organization. So which of those two do you think is larger, the expected results or the overall expectations? So I gave you 2 scenarios. These are exercises that you can work on. You can read through the scenario. You can look at the amount of support the teams are going to get, and then you can define what types of results you might get from these teams. There are no official answers here, but it's the type of thing I like to have leadership teams think about because it helps them begin to calibrate. If we spend this much on teams, what should we expect? And so scenario 1 looks at project teams. Scenario 2 looks at work teams. Identifying investment options. Putting an effective team infrastructure in place is not an all or nothing proposition, and that I think is the most important thing. In fact, it's probably best to ease into a more formal team process than it is to take a giant leap. I always start with looking at my work teams. How effective are they? Looking at my focus teams, especially the ones that meet quite frequently. How effective are they? What can we do to improve that effectiveness? Then, based on the number of team leaders I have that I do believe are competent to lead projects, how many project teams could I support? Looking at my big problem areas, how many do I need? Now I've got something to start with. Now I've given you a worksheet that helps you identify a range of possible infrastructure investment options. And the remainder of this page gives you some examples of how the tool can be used. And so, for example, we could look at recognition, or we could look at alignment, or we could look at resources. But with alignment, for example, a low degree of investment might be only sharing the company's annual plan with employees at an all-hands meeting once a year. So we say, okay, we're going to spend 1 hour a year to update all staff on our site's operating plan for the coming year. That's low degree of investment. Medium degree of investment. We'd do this quarterly. We'd do 4 all-hands meetings per year, once every 3 months, where performance to plan is reviewed, along with possible plans revisions that have occurred. Here, we would also require teams to use a decision matrix that includes company goals when they select projects or an improvement alternative. At the high degree of investment, we hold monthly performance to plan meetings for all staff. We also have a formal team recognition program in place to recognize projects of significant impact. So that's an example of how you progress from the low degree of investment to a higher degree of investment. And again, there's no right answers, but it helps you calibrate in terms of what's the minimum I'm willing to do, what's the maximum I'm willing to do, because it serves no purpose to get all these lofty dreams if we're not willing to go there for a while. Okay? And you'll see something similar here for a project team example with resources, where low investment is where we only give them in-meeting time for project development, versus high degree, where they get everybody on the team an hour of time between meeting to work on projects. That's a lot more fuel for improvement. It's also a lot more skills we have to develop and manage. It also puts more strain on our support staff. So look at the 3 examples that I provided you with here. Work through a couple on your own with the worksheets that I've given you in the workbook and see how things work out for you. I think that it'll really help you begin to frame up your team process.